Welcome to Whispering Heights, a place to get to know God personally and intimately. Here I am, and there you are. I'm in the mirror. A mirror is a good place to learn more about God. We'll spend some more time in the mirror today, here at Whispering Heights. Well, I'm not in the mirror anymore. I bet you already know that. I never was. But I love this place where I'm at. Oh, there it is. The mirror. I like this little place where I'm at because look at the light. It's just beaming from here and there up here. It's kind of weird, kind of cool. I kind of feel like I'm in the mirror some more. You know, mirrors are a great place because they tell you the truth. And I had a great friend that taught me a lot of truth. He's no longer with us, but I remember him so well. I want to tell you about some of the things he taught me in our message today. I had just begun a ministry with my young wife and one of my sons. The other one hadn't been born yet. And we loved going to the little town next to us that had some nice little restaurants in it and a good place to go grocery shopping. And it was just a nice little town. The little town we lived in had nothing in it. So we went there quite often. And I remember one day being there and meeting a guy that was very interesting to me. He was happy. He was joyous. He was a nice looking fellow. He was a little older than I am, or that I was. He was probably a good 10 years older than me, so he had to be around 40 years old or something like that. And I just enjoyed him so much. And in the course of our conversation there, while we were probably having a hamburger and French fries, because that's what we always had there, they had the best French fries ever. So while we were eating, we got to meet this fella and we were telling him about what we were doing and where we were at and about our church. And he said, "Oh, I happen to be a member of that denomination, but not that church. But I'm not very happy where I'm at. It's a long ways away and it's hard to get to. Could I come and visit your church?" And we said, "Well, of course you can come visit our church. We'd love for you to come." And he showed up. He actually did. And he was just as happy and as joyous there as he had been all along. And started to get to know him a little bit more. He started showing up more and more, and he got to developing some relationships with some of the other people in the church there. And every once in a while, I'd get a phone call from him. And every once in a while, I started to realize that I thought something was a little strange. Something was a little different about him. I couldn't quite put my finger on what the difference was. Was John the person that I thought he was? Or was he someone different? That I didn't know. But I liked him enough to continue with him and start to develop more of a friendship and find out. And find out I did. And find out I did. Time went on more, and John, that happy exterior of John became less happy as I began to realize there was something very deep inside him that was very hurt and very broken. And now I even took more interest on him because I wanted to help. Well, he began to tell me about some of the truths of his life. And I found out that it wasn't all that many years ago that he found out that his mom and dad, whom he still lived with, were not actually his mother and father, but his aunt and his uncle. And he had just found that out, but it began to open the door to him understanding a lot of things he didn't understand before. Like, for instance, why was his uncle so angry at him? Why was his uncle so aggressive? Why is his aunt so passive? What was going on? I found out more and more about that as time went on, as he told me that, this man just beat him up emotionally. And it wasn't just emotionally, he beat him up physically as well. The mirror of John's truth was beginning to be seen more and more. And light became more and more evident. He had scars on his body, all over his back. And they hurt. And he hurt. And he didn't know how to make a life for himself because he had been so abused. He couldn't even leave his mother and father's, or his aunt and uncle's home. He didn't have the wherewithal to do so. That happy exterior wasn't so happy on the inside. But the mirror was coming out, and I was beginning to see John for who and what he really was. He started calling me at night. He was so hurt, so upset inside himself. He was threatening suicide. He didn't want to die. I knew that he did not want to die, and he called me because he needed somebody to show him some love. And I spent long hours with him, many nights when he was at his worst. He started making me, or maybe I came up with the idea, I'm not sure which. But I made him tell me that I would see him tomorrow, that we would talk again. And I really believed it when he told me that that's how he got through the night without hurting himself. He just needed someone to care about him, to love him, to be his friend, to listen to him, and not suggest in any way that he deserved that, or that he could have changed it, or he should have dealt with things differently, or that it was his fault in any way. He just needed someone to love him. He needed someone to say, "You're okay. You're a good guy. I like you. I enjoy you. I enjoy being with you." You know, it might be good and helpful for you and for me to see that backside of yours. He didn't want to. But at some point, he showed me a little bit of it. I think it was a little therapeutical for him. And I began to realize what I was really dealing with really was a very hurt man. One of the things that I thought was wonderful about John was that he loved God. He really did. He really wanted to make God happy. Although there were times when he was so distraught within inside himself that he wanted to kill himself, he didn't want to die. He wanted to grow. He wanted to learn. He had had a pandemic of brokenness. And he wanted it over, but he didn't know how to get out from these broken, hurt feelings to a place where he could be happy and grow and grow and grow. And I didn't know how to help him. Yes, there's happiness in Jesus. Yes, there's a place to grow in him. Yes, there's healing in Jesus, in the body, in the soul, in the mind. It's there to be received. And I wanted to help him receive that. But it's never easy. Very seldom does Jesus ever say, "Zim zam zoo, you're all better." He often goes through processes with us to take us to new heights. And I think for John, he was one of those people that the Lord was going to take him to new heights through these processes. And I just wanted to say, "Oh God, heal him," and he'd be healed right then and there. But he wasn't. I think these scars were so deep within inside himself that he was a little bit like the guy that Jesus told about, that was at the well, and every time he tried to get into the well to get healing, that someone would jump in ahead of him, and he wouldn't get the healing that he wanted. And Jesus said to him, "Do you want to get well?" And then Jesus healed him completely. He doesn't do that every day, but he does it. Healing is there. Healing will come. But for John, it was a long, agonizing place of growth, of development, of putting behind himself all of this stuff. And good Lord knows, how was he ever going to get that done as long as he was living next to his dad? I don't know the answer to these things. It's way beyond my pay scale with Jesus. Our church was a tiny little church without a lot of money. And eventually they were running out of money. And I was running out of enjoyment in working multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. So eventually we moved to Ohio, actually, and left John behind and left the church behind. And I've always believed that when you leave, and you let the next guy handle things. And that's what I did. And I often wondered about John and what happened to him. And what I found out was that he never stopped trying. He found other friends who loved him and cared for him. He kind of became the adoptive member of another family there at the church. Maybe several, I don't know. People who loved him and cared about him, and they were friends with one another. And time went on, and I know little else about this other than that John continued to be sure in his heart that he wanted to please God no matter what, through all this difficulty and struggle that he was going to have to go through. And then he got cancer. And then he died. And when he died, there was no more struggle, no more pain, no more agonizing nights of wondering why someone would treat him that way. What would have happened if his mother and father had not died and he'd have been raised by his real mother and father? How would his life have been different? Those are only things that God knows. I don't. But what I do know is this: there is no more pain, no more struggle, no more hurt. That happy face that he had, that was full of joy underneath of all that pain, was now a happy face all the time, with no pain, no struggle, no difficulty. Jesus healed him. And I'm thankful for that. There's no more pandemic of broken hearts for him. And I'm so happy.